Hello and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Patrick Knisley.
My name's Jordan Willis.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest joining us on episode 218 of this podcast. We have the wonderful Rachel Kane back on the show, ladies and gentlemen.
Yay.
How's it going, Rachel?
Thank you. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me back. Glad to be here.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah, good to see you. And Rachel, thanks for joining us on this episode. We're going to be talking about Pikmin 4, which just released. We're going to be talking all about that game. I think we all agree it's probably a pretty solid game, but we'll break it down in great detail in the main topic, at least the first part of it. And then we've got some news, of course. There's been some rumors again about Metroid Prime 2. We got to talk about that. The Xenoblade amiibos are out. That whole Dolphin emulator on Steam thing has continued. The Microsoft Activision thing continues. Some other rumors about Sony stuff. We'll talk about all that and more. But before we get into any of those things, how's it going? How are we doing this week? Is everybody doing all right? getting through?
Yeah. hanging in there like that cat on that branch from that famous poster. But I will say, it was Barbenheimer weekend, baby. I definitely did both. I celebrated Barbenheimer with many other people. Great weekend at the cinemas. Hollywood is back, baby. I really enjoyed both movies, to be honest. I thought they were both really excellent in their own ways. They're obviously very different films. But I saw Oppenheimer on Saturday and I saw Barbie yesterday. And it was great. I love both of those. I can't stop thinking about both of those movies. They were excellent.
Okay, I'll go. All right. Pretty good. I've been working on a music video for a friend. And then Friday, I flew out to Boston for less than 24 hours to see two of my favorite bands together. And they played back to back. So it was great. And then I flew straight back. And I was extremely tired all through yesterday. Today is the first day I feel pretty normal because I was out till 1 and then I flew back at 7 in the morning or something, which means I had to get to the airport. Anyway, whatever. But I'm starting to feel normal again. Finally got to get some Pikmin in starting on Saturday. So excited to talk about it.
Was this a want to get away, spur of the moment decision? Or was this you planned this way ahead of time?
I saw it 2 or 3 months ago and I didn't really pull the trigger until I had gotten back from Washington because I was just kind of curious, what's money going to look like? And so I bought the plane ticket on points and I was this is totally worth it for me because both of these bands don't really tour and I don't see them touring anytime soon. So I just was I just got to do it. I will regret not going. And that was worth it enough for me. Yeah.
That's a pretty good indicator.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Rachel, how's your week or so been? How you doing?
Pretty good. I'm fostering some kittens right now, which is always cute. Fun. But they were sick all weekend, so not fun. Yeah. But they're doing fine now. If anybody in the Houston area is looking for some kittens, I have a good pair.
I will be in Houston on Monday. Maybe I'll just scoop up all those kittens.
Come get them.
Yeah.
I've got them.
Oh man, that's great. What about you, Patrick? How you been?
I'm all right. As we discussed, I think we talked about this. My kid broke his arm last week when we were trying to record. So that threw off the last week a little bit, but I think we're back on track. He got a hard cast today and is a lot more confident and comfortable in it as opposed to the, quick and dirty job they did at the ER. So
has anyone signed it yet?
Yes. In fact, we just had some neighborhood friends over for that purpose right before we started.
That's the fun
recording.
part.
Yeah. Great. And I think that kind of stuff has been good.
Don't go anywhere. I'll be over right after this podcast. Magnus's cast. Yeah.
Also, it's I'm these, our neighborhood, his friends come over and they're running around. I'm oh, don't fall. You can't play with kids. Anyway.
That's funny.
So It's pretty good. They said he really only has to wear it for another 3 weeks, which seems kind of low to me, but I'll take it.
That's quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that. So we'll move on to doing some shout outs next. Last week we talked about the next Nintendo console, whatever that might be. And we got a lot of great discussion on the Discord, as always. Over there, Cena said they don't think it's going to be anything like Nintendo's done in the past. So no Super Switch, nothing like that, but some sort of new Switch name convention. We got some really detailed predictions from Cool Uncle Vince, who's thought through this quite a bit about launch lineup and stuff like that. And then we talked about some other things on the podcast. AV brought up like the UK loot boxes being regulated in the UK. That is when we were talking about the sort of EU regulations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that just happened too.
And then a lot of hate for things I said.
Justifiably so.
I was pretty controversial last episode, apparently, and I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep this trend going.
Yes.
In particular, I always make a big deal about saying the Mario Kart name, and AV said, "What's the big deal?" And then I also made a comment about the Super Mario 3D World being more like a 2D Mario, and that, or being in the same category. And that
didn't say it was more.
I said it's not a 3D game.
You said it's not a 3D game.
You didn't say it's 3D Mario
like a 2D. Game. I would agree with that.
Okay. I said it's not a 3D Mario game. You want me to back off a little bit? I'm not gonna.
My goodness gracious.
I just think it has got the poles and the flags and the level structure is the same. Anyway.
No, I did vote on the poll. I forget where it was posted.
Yeah, on the Facebook. Yeah.
It's a 3D game.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Team
Vincent
3D.
really taking me to task on that one by making a poll. Also, I really upset Swamp Cat, our friend Tommy, by the white chocolate comment. So I guess I didn't. I am just kind of taking it for granted because people say it's not chocolate. I did a little bit of research, and Jordan, you were backing me up a little bit that but it does have some cocoa in it, but it's not solids or something. I don't really care.
Dude,
It's
these
not
hot
chocolate.
takes are going to be the end of you, Patrick.
Yeah.
Our community's going to eat you alive.
Yeah. What else do people like that I can shit on? No. Just kidding.
I do want to give one more shout out before we move into the news. Just to in the rumors channel on our Discord, we talked a lot about Switch 2 rumors and stuff like that. And Ty Typos actually posted this great link with like pretty much just a record of like all of the evidence that's of like what the Switch 2 might be, like who said it, a lot of the technical stuff, distros and stuff like that have been discovered. So if the topic of last week's episode interests you, definitely check out that link that Ty posted in our rumors channel. It was really informative, and I kind of wish we had that before we started recording the episode last week.
So many people commented in the Discord and made great comments like that. I can't list everybody, but there were a bunch of other people too. Thanks to everybody being a part of the conversation there. So definitely, like join the Discord, come be part of the conversation. Also, we always appreciate it. If you want to be shouted out, you can make a comment there or send us a note somewhere else and we'll try to shout you out. And then, hop over to our YouTube channel where we do the video version of this and hit like and subscribe. That helps us out too.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to move on then to the news for the week. It's a relatively light news week, I think, maybe. Mm-hmm. First up, just wanted to put this out there that the Smash, Xenoblade, Pyra, and Mithra amiibos are out. So if you're a fan of Smash and or Xenoblade, those are theoretically out in the wild, though I know that it's been hard to find, like all amiibos, right? At least that's been my understanding from just kind of cursorily following this. I don't know. Anybody?
Did any of you guys pick these up?
Nope.
I did. I mean, I don't have them in hand, and I don't even really like Xenoblade that much. But I do like Pyra and Mithra as characters, and I like them in Smash. And I just think they're good-looking amiibos. And I saw I think Matt or something posted that they were available on the Nintendo store. And so I ordered them there, and then it was like, you need like X amount of money until you get free shipping or whatever. So I also bought a Metroid hat that is also going to be coming in at some point. But yeah, they're not in yet, but I'm excited for those to come in when they finally arrive.
Yeah, well, so just a little PSA if you were looking forward to those. I guess, hopefully you can find them out in the wild. We'll see. Let us know. And then speaking of Metroid, there's been continual rumors about Metroid Prime 2 remaster. Jeff Grubb said this a long time ago before the first Metroid remaster that I think all these games were going to come out remaster versions, though not as detailed as they did with 1. And he said it again recently. Is that correct? Am I summarizing this well?
Yeah, I think, as I understand it, he was on his Last of the Nintendogs podcast, and he basically was saying what I think a lot of people assumed is that this is probably coming pretty soon, and I think that just means this year at some point, and that it's going to be a bit less of an ordeal than the first remaster was, right? So I think you can probably expect the same kind of control additions that were added in, especially since that remaster was made in the same engine as the original Metroid Prime. It should be pretty easy to move all that new control stuff over, but I don't think you're going to get a full texture rework like you got with the first one. It's going to be more of a general upscale. But to be honest, I mean, and Jordan, I'd love to hear your opinions on this as a Metroid guy, but it's like those games, even just upscaled to 1080, like look great to this day. Like I really don't think they need to do the whole remaster treatment. I mean, if it happens, I'll be a little disappointed that, just having seen what it can look like when you do a full treatment to a game, to one of these games, like what it can look like. But I think I would rather just have them be more bare bones ports and get them than not get them at all. Right.
Yeah. I mean, we still don't really know how much time went into making the Metroid Prime remaster. Maybe it's like it seems more complicated than a grab and slap. So definitely I would just accessibility, and something that tied me over until Metroid Prime 4, which is probably still at least a year out at this point. So yeah, no, I'm totally fine with that. And I think that's kind of what we had talked about too, whenever the original one had come out, or the Metroid Prime remaster, that the next two would probably just be more straight ports upscaled, and hopefully just the additions of the controls, the quality of life edition. So that's really fine. Yeah, it's just going to look great either way. And hopefully those games hold up as well.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't really realize this, but Retro handled a lot of the Metroid Prime remaster, but a lot of it was also outsourced to other studios, right? So I don't think it's out of the question, especially if they're looking for, if there's studios that are looking to work with the IP and they want to put in the work to do a lot of this texture work. Definitely don't think it's out of the question, and I imagine there's some assets that'll probably be redone, but yeah. We're also talking about this like it's definitely going to happen. This is very much rumor territory, but
yeah. I think the sales on the first one were good enough that if they wanted to do more of a straight remaster of just upscaling, totally in the cards for how well that first one sold, for sure. Yeah.
I'll take any and all GameCube games they want to throw at the Switch.
Yeah. Did you want to talk about the other part of this? Item as well?
He not only said Metroid Prime 2 and 3, which we didn't really cover, right? But something else too, right, Jordan? What's that?
Basically it says, I want to get it right. In addition to Metroid Prime 2 Remastered, it mentioned something, Zelda related, but unrelated to Tears of the Kingdom to happen later this year. No clues as to what that could be. I mean, that could just be the Wii U ports, of Twilight Princess and Wind Waker that everyone's been waiting for. My pie in the sky dream is Guerrero has been working on Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, which I talked about in the Discord, which most people did not
poo-pooed.
Yeah,
poo-pooed
not
on me.
possible, Jordan.
But I'm just like, dude, what
it's coming to NSO, idiot. That's what everybody said.
Like, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, because I mean, what are they working on besides a mobile game? There's no way they've been working on a mobile game for like 2-3 years, and before that it was Miitopia, and Miitopia was closer to a remaster with not a lot of additions added onto it. So I'm like, what have they really been working on since Link's Awakening? And I highly doubt it's just an iOS game. So, I mean, if they have that engine, I don't see why they wouldn't just do that. Nintendo still releases games in NSO and remakes. So it's not out of the realm of possibility.
I mean, look at Link's Awakening, right? Yeah.
That's my pie in the sky dream, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think it could very well be that. I mean, I'm so tired of talking about these GameCube remasters of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. I feel like that's been a rumor since like the day the Switch came out that these games are coming, right? So yeah, of course, it'd be great to see those. I think the thing I've been wanting this whole time is like a Four Swords or like Four Swords Adventures, like online thing that people can play with their friends. I think that would be really sick. But you know, either way, we'll see. We know that those games are coming to NSO at some point, those Game Boy games. So it could even just be that. But either way, this is Flappy Mouth Grub flapping his mouth.
I didn't even think that it could just be, this is the release dates for these NSO games.
Yeah,
that'd be awful. That'd be such a bummer.
Mm-hmm.
Could be. It is Zelda related after all. So yeah. But we can move on from that one unless there's anything else.
Speaking of GameCube games.
Yeah. The Dolphin emulator was set to go on Steam, and that emulates GameCube and Wii games, correct? But as you may recall, a few weeks ago, maybe months ago, we talked about there being the fact that Nintendo had sent like a DMCA to Valve saying they can't put Dolphin on there. Well, I guess in reading some news has come out that wasn't exactly what happened, but it's close enough to the truth. I guess Valve had reached out to Nintendo asking about it, and they cited the DMCA. But anyway, it's not going to happen, right? Is it the Dolphin team has decided to pull it / Valve has decided not to allow it? I'm not sure. Is that's the case, right, David?
Yeah, as I understand it, this is kind of the Dolphin team like sort of taking the L. I think that they did not really cover their bases in the use of some Wii keys and stuff like that that have been found within the code for it. You know, some of that's essentially like a BIOS file for the Wii, something like that. And so, you know, they have been talking to their own lawyers, and it turns out that might not be as big of a deal as they thought that it was. Legally speaking, like they might not be, you know, I think right now they are like, we're definitely not doing the Steam thing. Is Dolphin itself in danger for staying around? According to them, they're like, we talked to our lawyer. We don't think that we're in any legal danger right now. But clearly they released a statement being like, we fucked up. Right. And so, you know, we will definitely not be seeing this on Steam anytime soon. But to me, that's not even really a big loss. I mean, you can add third-party games to Steam easily. That's what you do with almost every other emulator. You know, if you're trying to have this for Steam Deck purposes, there's super streamlined ways to get Dolphin onto your system in a way that makes it just seem like you have GameCube games on your Steam Deck that you bought from Steam. You know, they zhuzh it up to make it seem super official. They talk a little about Oatmeal Dome, who we talk about on the podcast a lot, has having been involved in kind of the infrastructure of the project. So there's some interesting stuff in this statement that Dolphin released. Yeah, we won't be seeing it on Steam anytime soon, probably ever.
All right. Well, I promise we won't talk about this for too long, but we're going to briefly touch on the Microsoft Activision Blizzard merger. A few new things have come out about this. Number one, as we discussed, their deadline to complete this deal came up. They agreed to extend it into October. So the new deadline for this between the parties is October 18th. And then, as we discussed, Microsoft won a court battle with the FTC, but there was also a sort of FTC administrative challenge happening against Microsoft, and the FTC has decided to withdraw that, to draw that down, to cancel that. So it's really just the appeal of that case and then the UK authority that are currently blocking the deal from being finalized, which feels like one little chink. There you go. So it's now just these two little things. We'll see. I don't know how little they are, but
the CMA thing doesn't seem like that's going to hold it up to me.
Yeah.
You know, it was mostly about cloud streaming. And I think like, especially with the EU okaying it, I doubt the CMA will be that far behind.
Yeah. And then this is tangentially related, I think, but apparently, Blizzard games haven't always been available. Speaking of Steam, on Steam, you've had to go to battle.net to play these games, but at least some Blizzard games are now being released on Steam, or going to be. Overwatch 2 in particular, I think, is the first of them, but it sounds like this is a new sort of strategy possibly in light of the likely Microsoft acquisition, to have this sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, change of
parody.
Right, like that all their games are going to be available there as well.
I think they need the money.
Another avenue, right? Why not?
I don't think Overwatch 2 did nearly as well as they wanted it to do. So they're like, well, just throw it in the Steam store, try to make our money how we can. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's a free-to-play game, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if they sell skins
Steam,
via loot boxes, I think.
So just anything to get more players in the game for microtransactions is what you're saying. Yeah.
Most definitely. I mean, like I'm thinking of the example I can think of is Apex Legends on PC was through the EA launcher when it first came out, probably for the first, I think almost a year, it was on PC, and then they added it to Steam, and the player base skyrocketed. So I think they saw what happened there, and they're looking at Overwatch 2, and they're like, man, we need that player base up. If we add it to Steam, people will download it for free and potentially make more money. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, my main takeaway from this, especially with the Blizzard games coming to Steam thing, is like, if this does have something to do with this Microsoft and Activision merger, then it's like, man, this is maybe one more little step towards bringing Game Pass to Steam proper. You know what I mean? Like having Steam integration with Game Pass, I think would be a huge, huge get, especially for Steam Deck owners and stuff like that. That's kind of one of the only reasons to recommend, like, the ROG Ally or something like that to the Steam Deck, is that it's Windows native, right? And so, the Game Pass Windows launcher or whatever works natively, like on that device. It's pretty hard to do a workaround on the Steam Deck for Game Pass games. But I know, like, for me personally, it's like having Game Pass natively be able to work on my Steam Deck would be a really big boon to getting me to resubscribe, because I've got an Xbox Series S, but I don't play on it very often. I much prefer the handheld form factor and kind of being able to take games with me and not have to just be connected to a cloud in order to play them on my Steam Deck. So I think that would be a really cool thing, and hopefully moving Battle.net stuff over to Steam, is kind of maybe the start of this transition. I know Phil Spencer said that he's interested in that. We'll just have to see if that actually plays out, but that's my hope.
Fair enough. We will see. Another thing we'll have to see more about, but we got a little bit of a peek into, is some Sony rumors and leaks that have happened this past week. So maybe we'll start with the Project Q, which is their handheld device that's going to tie into the PlayStation 5, since we're talking about Steam Deck and playing handheld and all that. There was a leak of the actual device. Somebody posted, I think it was on Twitter, they posted like a video of them. I don't know.
They X'd it to X, you mean?
They X'd it?
Well, it was, they tweeted it when it was posted. It was
okay,
a tweet.
It was still a tweet. Yeah. You heard about this, right?
It's grandfathered in as a tweet.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, am I just breaking the news to you guys?
Yeah, I don't know what we're talking
about. We're so sorry.
Yeah. Elon changed Twitter to X, and now tweets are called X's.
Really?
I don't have. Okay, I can't. I don't.
Sorry, we could.
I don't want to get into this.
Just derailed this. Yeah.
Is it? Are tweets X's or are they sheets? Did you see that?
I don't know. I think that's a fake picture. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, but
it all sounds fake, to be honest.
It's giving me more anxiety than it should. But we can move on.
Weird timeline that we live in, but
we're
just all susceptible to Elon's midlife crisis right now, and it's really, really annoying.
Well, the one thing to kind of take away here is that the device is running on Android in the background, or at least it presumably is, if this isn't a fake X or whatever we're talking about here. So that is intrigued some people. I don't know enough about what that means in like actuality, but that's one.
Dude, it looks like shit, dude. It looks bad. It looks cheap and ugly, and it's an Android tablet glued to a fucking PS5 controller. It looks like shit. They like opened up the middle. It's nothing in there. You know what I mean? It's the screen looks like shit. The whole thing just looks cheap and bad, and I continue to not understand the point of this device.
I don't know.
Does anybody have any differing opinions?
No objections here.
No objections whatsoever.
I don't have much to say about it. It happened. And yeah, you can check out that video if you're curious. But there's also been rumors about PlayStation 5 like Pro, I guess, like a more beefier console. And there's also been some rumors and leaks that is in development and is planning to come out next year in the fall. I don't know that we have a date for this handheld, right, for Project Q or anything specific about that. So maybe that would also be around the same time. Who knows? But I don't know. What do y'all think? Do they need a PlayStation 5 Pro? Do they don't need this handheld?
It makes sense. They're always going to do a Pro. I feel like it's probably mostly for people who can actually afford an 8K TV. I feel like it was similar whenever like the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, I don't remember what they called it, but their Pro version, it was basically just so you could play your games in 4K more reliably. With Xbox One and PS4 didn't have 4K out of the gate. So I feel like this is something like that, not necessarily that much more powerful, but a little bit of extra hardware to get you like that one step up if you can afford the TV for it.
Yeah, like $4,000 or something like that for like the cheapest 8K TVs. I also just think like, man, you get really diminishing returns with an 8K TV. It's like, for me, it's hard for me to see pixels on a 4K. 4K looks pretty fucking sharp to me, dog. It's like, I think, I still play a lot of games. I've been playing games docked to my 4K TV through my Steam Deck. It's playing 720p and I can barely tell, So it's like, I think if anything, like a Pro would probably try to get more stable 60 FPS frame rates. You know what I mean? Like maybe trying to prioritize that more. Because, it's also like whenever the Pros came out for the last gen, 4K TVs were blowing up, and I don't really think that that's the case with 8K TVs right now. And I think a lot of people feel the same way. If you're really looking for like tech demo shit, like the PS5 can do 8K right now. It's just no game is going to do it, right? Because they're going to be focused more on ray tracing or on stability or performance or whatever, right? So I would imagine it's something to kind of bridge the quality modes and the performance modes on a lot of these games, and just have it be Pro mode or whatever they would want to call it. But I do think it's a little early in the life cycle for these. If we do see one, I doubt we'll see it this year, maybe even next year. It seems like something that would be a little bit further off.
Fair enough. Well,
now the Switch Pro, however, no, I'm just kidding.
Last up, we'll talk a little bit about Pikmin 4, but we'll save content of our discussion for after the break. But just some news items around it. Reviewing really well. Some really high scores out there. The Metacritic score average right now is 87, which is pretty good. I actually went in and read like some of the worst reviews and just out of curiosity. And even those are still pretty decent. You know what I mean? So the game's reviewing pretty well. I think general reception has been pretty good. And then also wanted to mention newsworthy that the Ask the Developer series that Nintendo has been doing with a lot of their bigger releases lately. They did one for Pikmin 4, where you can go to the Nintendo website and read an interview with 5 of the people who worked on the game, who are all, or most, if not all, I think are series veterans who worked on previous Pikmin games as well. So that's actually the most interesting part of that interview, in my opinion, is them talking about the origins of the Pikmin games. Because there's always this sort of anecdotal story that Miyamoto saw ants moving and came up with the game himself. But that's only a part of the story. If you read through this, they have been working on a project with other kind of like characters that was sort of similar. And anyway.
There was Super Mario 128, right? Did they bring that up in the?
They did, and they said that has nothing to do with it. That
really?
was,
that's. I've heard like Miyamoto say like, "Oh, you want to play Super Mario 128? It exists. It's called Pikmin."
Yeah, apparently that was a separate team that they weren't even like because they did bring that up, because I think maybe that's a commonly assumed the interviewer asked that question,
right.
even though these are softball questions written by Nintendo, but maybe to address that very issue. I think the other big interesting thing about this that I want to save the actual my opinions on is that they kind of talk about this tension between Pikmin 1 and Pikmin 2, and people who prefer one or the other style of game, and that they tried to really bring both of those together in Pikmin 4.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I think it's a little Pikmin 2 code.
It's Pikmin 2.
This game. Yeah.
We'll get into that. I think it's a lot more Pikmin 2 than it is Pikmin 1 or 3, but we can save that discussion and analysis. But, these Ask the Developer things are, especially if you're interested in the game, are usually pretty interesting. And I think this one is too, if you're like interested in the history of Pikmin and stuff. So
totally. Yeah. And it's nice to see the Metacritic score, which is great. I think every Pikmin game minus Hey Pikmin has scored between an 85 and a 90. So this is a series that pretty much always lands with critics.
Consistent.
Yeah, lands with fans. I'm interested to see what the sales are going to be like for Pikmin 4. I know Pikmin 3, I think Deluxe for the Switch was the highest selling Pikmin game to date. So I'm very interested to see how many people move over from that to this game, and then also I know they've been doing a lot to try to court new players as well. So I'm interested to see what the sales numbers are going to be for this newest game.
Yeah, it's purely anecdotal, but it does seem like a lot of people are playing it.
Yeah,
that in our circle and that sort of thing. So I think it has a chance. That does it for the news element. There's so much we want to talk about this game, but we'll save it. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk all about our impressions thus far of Pikmin 4. We're back, and this week we're talking about Pikmin 4. So the game just came out on this past Friday. So unless you've been playing it constantly, like Cena, apparently, you may not have beaten it. But I did want to just first to start off, like we like to do in these sort of early impressions, just sort of what's our big picture impressions of the game? Maybe Rachel, maybe you want to go first. How are you enjoying Pikmin 4? What are your sort of big picture thoughts so far?
I love it. I really couldn't, once I picked it up and got through the tutorial, I couldn't put it down. That's kind of my feeling of it right now.
Nice. It is satisfying.
I want to finish it.
About how far are you in the game, Rachel?
Not very. I played for a long time yesterday, and whatever the first section is that they drop you in, I completely cleared it. That's what I did right before bed last night.
Me too.
Like, let me just do this whole section. Or I think I 99%ed it, which is very annoying.
I think I know exactly which one you're missing. It took me forever to find it.
Okay, well, I need your help after this.
Okay, I'll hit you up. Yeah.
Pro tip, there's a few treasures that are underground, or not like in caves, but like you got to dig them up. That's likely what it is. But I'd echo that. It's great. I'm having so much fun with this game. I think like great entry point if you've been Pikmin curious and never played a Pikmin game. They've just streamlined everything, the quality of life, the game feel is so good. It's just super satisfying to ride around on that dog and throw Pikmin. So I am also loving it. Minor complaints aside, which I have some and I'll share, but love it. Yeah. What about y'all, David or Jordan?
Yeah, I'm not like a huge Pikmin head. I'm not super Pikmin pilled, but I am really enjoying this game a lot. I think it does seem to have a lot of quality of life improvements in this game past other ones. Also, I think my favorite Pikmin game up to this point was Pikmin 2. So I think a lot of the underground sections that are like super puzzly, I'm into that, and I really enjoy those. I'm digging the Dandori battles. I definitely am trying to live my life a little bit more Dandori style overall.
You're cooking your dinner while you do your dishes while you.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just trying to be more prudent with my time. Let's say that. But yeah, no, I think this game is a ton of fun. I like the dog a lot. I like that you can just make the dog super buff. Ochi, I believe, also is the dog's name. I love that one of the things is literally called super buff, which is great. We definitely need some buff Ochi emotes in the Discord. But yeah, no, I think this game is really excellent, and I think it combines, I think all the things that I like most about it. I don't know, I just feel like there's more to do, but your attention is like more clearly on whatever thing that you need to do, and I don't know, that's really working for me. But what about you, Borden?
I same, and just to kind of like build off what you were saying, is just the variety of gameplay is really nice. It's not like all gathering or all puzzles or all battles. It's like all mixed in every layer that you go through, and it just kind of goes through like a nice gameplay loop every time you go through. So I'm really enjoying it. I have not played a Pikmin game since Pikmin 1 on the GameCube. So I am definitely back in it, and I do have Pikmin 3. I've had it for a long time and I've never played it. And now I'll probably be playing Pikmin 3. It's just like a nice light game to play after Tears of the Kingdom. It's just like so heavy, so much content. This is just feels really breezy. Very nice. Yeah.
I think Patrick and Rachel, maybe something, because I played Pikmin 3, but not all the way through. I played it on my Wii U. I had it on there. And that used the gamepad and stuff like that, which I do kind of miss that functionality this go around. But it's been a while since I played it, and I never finished that game. Do you think you guys could maybe give some of the differences between 3 and 4? Like, what makes this more of a unique experience?
Patrick, I know you and your son play a lot, and while I have, I did get it for the Switch, I haven't played it in a long time. One of the differences, isn't it like? Did Pikmin 3 have a day limit?
So Pikmin 3 did not have. So there's never been a day limit since 1, but Pikmin 3 is more like 1 in that you have to gather enough fruit to survive. And if you're decent at the game,
that was very stressful.
If you're decent at the game, it's not that hard, or if you play on a low enough difficulty or whatever. But at least it adds that pressure that's similar to Pikmin 1. Of like, if I'm low on fruit, and then I want to tell spoilers, but I won't. But you know what I mean? Like, it adds a little bit of time pressure that does not exist in 2 and 4.
Right.
You can take your time in the day, which I feel iffy about. I don't think it's bad. I think I'm more of a Pikmin 1 and 3 person in that regard.
Got it. Are there any other big differences that you can point out, Patrick?
At least for the deluxe version of 3, the biggest difference is the co-op. In Deluxe 3, they added a story mode co-op, which, again, anecdotally, I know a few people that really loved that and playing it with their partner or their friend, or in my case, my son. And then to not have that in 4 kind of feels like a step backwards. I can see why they didn't do it, and I have thoughts on all that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty big missed opportunity, because you can swap over to the dog whenever you want.
Yeah.
And then when you're the dog, like on another side of the map or something like that, you can call Pikmin and send them out just like you would if you were your player character, right? So it seems almost like that was intended to be a co-op mode, but then somehow they couldn't make it work. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
My thought is that riding the dog is a lot of fun. Right. And that takes away, you know what I mean? If I'm the dog and the other person's just riding and I don't get to choose, or vice versa, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, if the person controls the dog when it's being ridden, it's not as fun. And I think that's a big part of it. I think even though there is that part of me that's like, they could still have done it that way, I think it screws it up. And I wanted to say this at the beginning, is we'll be jumping around because I'm jumping around, but I think this game is a lot more like other video games than the other Pikmin games. And by that, I mean, we've got all these missions and rewards and upgrades and side quests and stuff that don't exist in the other Pikmin games. And
you kind of have skill trees with Ochi as well, right?
Multiple types of currencies.
And I think that's very single player. That's not, that would be, you know what I mean? Like, that's a harder thing in co-op, right? To be like,
Sure.
You're upgrading my character, my dog. I'm playing the dog. You know what I mean, or whatever. Like, I want this. I just feel like they went for like, like let's make it a better single player experience but I do miss it. I do hope that there's some in it. I can talk about that more later. But all that said, there is a second player mode. It's called Pebble Pitcher. It's another controller can the most similar game out there to compare it to is Mario Galaxy, where you could like have sort of a pointer that does things. Honestly, it's more fun than I thought it would be.
Really?
It is overpowered. It is definitely a like parent help out a young kid kind of a thing.
So are you pitching pebbles? And you've got Magnus
turns.
Okay, right.
We take turns, but honestly, if I'm pitching pebbles, I can kill everything pretty quickly before he gets to it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like, and also you're not pitching just pebbles. You can get bomb rocks that you can throw, and the carrots, pick carrots,
yeah.
And other items to throw and like lightning and stuff. And so you can really, it's just kind of like too much almost. It's too easy. Like I can just like murder things. Though you can also screw up your team. We did have a moment where I was fighting a boss and my son threw a bomb rock and killed all my Pikmin because we didn't coordinate. So you can sabotage people too. But anyway.
Oh yeah.
You brought up something about utilizing Dandori and sending Ochi to other parts of the map while you're working on something over here. Have you been doing that? Because it never occurred to me to let my dog leave my side.
Yeah.
Unless like completely necessary to like climb a wall or something.
No, for sure. And I might be wrong here, but it feels like the dog is not like as fast as you are just on foot. You know, like it feels like I'm a little slower on the dog than I am just running around by myself. So it's like, so oftentimes it'll be like, you can kind of split the team up a little bit, you know, like when you're the dog, you can grab your own little thing of Pikmin and have them working on something over here and then have you doing this over on this side.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually been pretty cool. And then once you get the kind of like the sexy Pikmin roundup device or whatever, you know what I'm talking about? It's got the little Pikmin who's kind of like lounging, the ones that are just hanging around.
Oh yeah, which ones are idle?
I don't think Pikmin are sexy, for the record. It's just the pose they do. But it's like, but yeah, once you get that too, it's like, you know, just like set a spot like in between you and the dog, have them like both meet up again. Like I think it's actually a pretty decent way to do it. And you know, as soon as you make the dog like strong too, it's like, you know, you could just send him out solo just to like grab treasure while you're focusing on other stuff with your Pikmin. I think that's helpful too.
So your Ochi is basically off leash at this point.
For the most part. Yeah. I use him to like swim through water and stuff like that and jump. Right. But that's kind of like the main things I use.
Yeah, you kind of, I think like the counterpoint to that is that like to navigate the map, you really do have to have the dog for those type of things. And when you're in caves, splitting up makes sense. And in fact, a lot of the caves kind of force you to split up.
Yep.
But I don't know if there's anything else. Well, we can just maybe talk more about the story mode, which is the meat of the game, at least initially. It's story-wise, it's kind of a retelling of Pikmin 1, or it's kind of a second take on Pikmin 2. You know, they got asked asked the developer thing we talked about, specifically like the timeline for this. And Miyamoto gave a very Miyamoto answer, which is like, I'll leave it up to you to decide. But like, I don't know that this is like spoiler stuff. Maybe it is, but basically it's kind of like the very beginning of the game is like a retelling of Pikmin 1. Olimar crash lands and then sends out an SOS signal. A lot of actual Pikmin references in this game to all the Pikmin games. There's even Hey Pikmin references in here. Sparklium is from Hey Pikmin, which is a major component of the game. Yeah. That's another. I'm getting off on a tangent here, but which is that I think that they sat down and looked at all the elements of all the different Pikmin games, and in terms of the story, thought about like which gameplay mechanics or which story elements work best with the gameplay. Because I think Sparklium in Pikmin 4, you have to collect treasure just like you do in several of the other Pikmin games. But the reasoning is to like glean some energy from it for your ship, which is exactly what is in Hey Pikmin. And I think that makes the most sense gameplay wise to like go then and explore more areas and that kind of thing, of all the reasons they've collected things in the different games.
It's one of the like many currencies in this game, right? But I like the Sparklium thing, and I like it. It's like just hit as much as you want in any order of any of the levels as you want to unlock new areas. And I think it's actually a really good way to like do progression in this game. I'm enjoying that aspect of it quite a bit.
But sort of they sort of retell the Pikmin 1 story with some addendums. There's now a dog, and that kind of thing, right? Like, and I think it was kind of smart that like they have you play as Olimar at the very beginning of the game, right?
For the tutorial
to teach you about Pikmin. And what I think is really interesting about that is that then once you actually like get into the current story and who you are and all that kind of stuff, you don't see a Pikmin for a long time.
Yeah, for a minute.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the rescue corps and then your dog and like and all that. So
I had a question. Is this the first one where you get to make your own character?
Yes.
I did like the options that they gave too, because like if you changed your body type, it had different sets of eyes and hair, which I thought was a nice little touch, so the variety of these characters, though it looks really simple, there's actually probably a decent amount of variety between all these characters.
Yeah, although I wanted a smaller body, but I did want facial hair, and you can only have facial hair with the big body, and it's just a mustache, but I do have a mustache in this game.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What color suit did everyone pick?
I went with purple.
Green.
Okay.
Green.
I went with pink in honor of Barbenheimer weekend.
Nice.
I went with pink hair.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it's a nice little touch that whatever color suit you pick is the like rescue corps color. And there's several
Can you change
things.
that, or is it that's locked in?
There is a way to change it later. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But you have to do something to do it. I'm trying to be vague. I don't know that I need to be, but I am.
Do you change your body and stuff too?
You can change everything. Yeah.
Awesome.
Including your name. But it is only after a certain thing happens. So it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's decently into it, but it's not close to the beginning either. So
how far are you in the game, Patrick?
Yeah, so I would argue that just like all Pikmin games, this is a relatively short game. I haven't beaten it yet, but just seeing that Cena's beaten it, and I think Austin is pretty close if he hasn't already beaten it as well. We have unlocked what I believe is the last area, but we haven't gone to it yet. So
how many are there total?
I believe there are 4.
Okay, got it.
That's not unusual. Pikmin 1 and 2 only had 4-ish areas. 3 maybe had 5-ish, I want to say, give or take. Something like that. So not kind of, par for the course. Not the longest games ever, but that's not a bad thing either.
Yeah, and I've definitely heard from people like on X. Sorry, I'm going to stop doing that. On Twitter, that when you roll credits, that's like by no means the end of the game.
That's
what I mean?
hear.
Is that there's a lot past.
I saw that.
The credits that you can do, which is good for a shorter game experience like this, because I don't know how much like replayability there would be to just like replaying these areas again, just as is.
I think, at least for me, I mean, there is some, but I think this game feels easier to 100%. And at least historically, like some of the other games are harder to 100%. So that felt more worthy of replaying, or on if there's difficulty bumps, like some, if you unlock then a higher difficulty and stuff like that. But yeah, the other games, again, not 1, but 2 and 3 had like mission mode, which isn't available from the start, but I presume might be one of these things that's available after you roll credits, and stuff like that. But also the game has kind of integrated the missions and the like multiplayer versus into the actual main game, which I think is kind of clever. And like Jordan said earlier, creates that sort of variety of experience. So I think that's kind of nice. But I'm really, really hoping they patch in, or you can unlock, which I don't think you can, but a co-op mission mode at some point. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got way off the track from where I started. They had it in 2 and 3, so I don't know. But I don't think they're gonna. Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that later. I guess this is borderline spoilers, but in Pikmin 1, if you lose, right? Like if you don't win, something happens, and that seems to be part of the story for Pikmin 4. I'm being kind of vague in case you want to look this up or experience it for yourself. So it's cool that they're doing stuff like that. I also think it's the most lived in Pikmin. There's all these characters. The rescue corps is full of people. There's so much more explanation. All these things that have happened in previous Pikmin games. Now they're like, oh, the ship can fit it in its hold because it shrinks it, or stuff like that. Whereas that just used to just happen. And things like that.
The lore.
Yeah.
How good of a rescue corps are they if there's so many times that they fail to rescue? It says it's really extremely rare, but we keep seeing it happen. So
dude, the fucking like I don't know what the race of people that like Olimar is, if they have a name or anything like that. They do,
but now this game has blown that open. So
okay, right. But either way, they just suck at interstellar travel. Like they're just constantly crashing their shit. Like I feel like they're
lost,
yeah. And then I thought it was really funny, and you learned this really early in the game. But it's like not only did the rescue team like get scattered everywhere, but like multiple groups of people all heard the distress call and all got lost.
All crashed,
it's like it's just like they're just not meant to leave their home planet, and yet they keep doing it over and over and over again. And I find that to be really humorous.
My theory is that it's PNF4. 4 is what they call the planet, but it's basically Earth, right? Presumably in this weird sort of maybe in the future, but also especially in Pikmin 4, all this stuff is like very not degraded. I think it's just another one of those things that doesn't really make sense, and that's fine. But it's like the Bermuda Triangle of planets, apparently, right? Like, and my son came up with a theory. It's because they're so small and their planets are small that they can't handle Earth's atmosphere in their ships or something. But
Magnus should write Pikmin 5, dude. I buy
it. That's a good lore. Yeah.
But yeah, it's
not a problem for Kirby, but
yeah. But yeah, there's all these characters, and it feels. And a lot more text and dialogue and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a lot more.
I would say maybe even a little bit too much. There's definitely times in this game, like especially at the end of every day when they've got the kind of like just crew banter. Yeah, at the end of everything. It's like it's cute and everything like that, but I'm always just like, yo, I literally only came to get the last % of this thing, and I did one thing and dipped out for the day. I don't need to see something now, you know? Like I think it's a little bit too much talking, and it's like, and then also they do the thing that they've been doing a lot, like for instance in like Tears of the Kingdom and other Nintendo games, where it's like all of the kind of like menus that you have in that hub area around the ship is all from, you just get them from talking to the different people that you rescue, right? But that always comes with its own dialogue, and it kind of like takes a little bit of time. It's a little fractured. It'd be nice to have like a menu system on top of that could simplify it if you're really just trying to like, I just want to buy a new item. I don't want to buy a new blah, blah, blah.
I want to look at the Piclopedia.
Right. Exactly. I think it'd be nice to kind of not have it so Animal Crossing-y, you know? But yeah.
I would like them to add little noises for the voices to make it more Animal Crossing would be nice, you know, something to give me a little context for how they speak, because that to me breaks up the text a little bit, but I just find myself just click 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 skipping through.
They do have little emotive noises, but they're not quite as in depth as Animal Crossing. You're right.
It's not like a full. Yeah, you want the full language. Yeah, you want the Banjo-Kazooie-ification of this. Yeah,
yes, I think
the
that'd be
Sims
nice.
level.
Yeah.
Well, I hear the criticism, but I enjoy all these characters, and I think they've really leaned into the dog element. Everybody's named after a dog. If you hadn't already noticed.
No, I did not notice that. Yeah,
so the captain is Shepherd. Colin, Collie, I don't know. I'm not going to start naming off everybody that you rescue, but those ones are early on. Everybody has a dog breed or dog related pun type name of some kind.
That's cool.
At least I think everybody.
Cool. I'm going to pay attention.
Yeah. And some of them are more obscure than others, or you have to like, oh, they spelled it that way because that sounds like a dog breed or whatever. But yeah, it feels just more interesting. And one of my theories, based on what they showed us, was that maybe there's a settlement happening this time, and it feels more like that than not. What do y'all think about the sort of, it's not typical for a Pikmin game, but all the missions and side missions and quests and rewards and like talking about menus and stuff and upgrades and all that. Are y'all enjoying that? Does that gamify it more? Or
it's very Dandori, right? Like, which I think we should probably. I don't think we've actually described what that means. I guess we kind of talked about it, but it's kind of like multitasking, right? It's like it's a Japanese word for. I imagine that's a Japanese word.
It is. They confirmed that in that interview.
Yeah.
For efficiently and strategizing your tasks or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's something that I love. I think that's like one of the only things that I love that modern gaming has taken from mobile gaming, is this passive mission stuff that you would get in like something like Jetpack Joyride or something for like, if you guys remember that game for like iOS and
defeat 100 enemies or something like that kind
of stuff. It just gives you like, as you're going out and doing the thing you'd normally be doing, it just gives you an extra little thing to focus on as you're doing it, right? It's like, yeah, maybe I would forget to throw a bunch of my Pikmin at Nectar if there wasn't the guy being like, hey, bloom 500 Pikmin or whatever, right? Yeah. And so it's like, so stuff like that just gives me a little bit extra impetus to actually do that sort of stuff and get the most out of the game. So I'm definitely into it. I think it's a good addition for this game for sure.
Nice. Yeah, it scratches that check the box itch. And one of y'all had mentioned like the game as a whole has been a nice break from playing Tears of the Kingdom, which is all I've been doing for the last 2 months. And so having this game with like really definite direction has been nice.
Right.
And yes, those little, like I said, I'm just going to 100% this first area because I can. And it's telling me exactly how to do it. And it's holding my hand part of the way. And I'm like, this feels good to check these boxes. So give me more boxes to check.
That's true. I think multiple people in the Discord said this too. Like, I'm going to probably 100% this game. It does a really good job of incentivizing and rewarding that. And I don't think it's not an absurd amount of things to do, right? Like it's
not at all. And you don't have to like technically, it's like you don't have to like get gold or platinum on every Dandori battle to 100% of the stage. Yeah. I think that's good because those can be pretty hard to like really maximize everything. Yeah. So like I don't think I've gotten higher than a silver at this point, but like so I'm not that good at Dandori, but no, I love that. And then I love also when you're picking a level 2, you can do like details and see like a really thorough breakdown of like, how many underground areas am I missing? What is it that I'm missing? Oh, I'm missing treasure shit. So I know I need to have my treasure tracker thing turned on so I can find whatever this last thing is, right? Like, I didn't have that turned on at first because I thought it would make the game too easy. And then I just like realized that there was shit just underground that is not obvious to find. I was like, oh, I really need this actually.
Yeah. Well, that's what's all the upgrades, not all of them, but a lot of the upgrades like are stuff that you just had in Pikmin 1 through 3. And so there's part of me, like when I was talking to Austin about this game, he was like, do you like that you can't have 100 Pikmin out from the start? Because in every other Pikmin game, you could grow as many, 100 is the limit from right away. But in this one, you start with like 10 or 20 and you can add a few every so often.
It's whenever you get onions, right?
The Flarlick or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what it is.
The Flarlick adds 10.
Got it.
But I kind of like it. I think it's made the progression nice. And then when you do finally get some of the stuff, you're like, oh, this is really helpful. Like the treasure thing or whatever, the like way to call your Pikmin back when they're not doing anything and stuff like that.
Yeah. It also gives people who want a more challenging experience the option to not buy those upgrades too. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're old hat at Pikmin and you're looking for something that's going to be a bit more of a challenge, then that's an option that you have now, other than it just being all on by default.
Not buy them, or you can just turn them off if you do have them, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should talk a little more about Ochi. I think we already talked about Ochi, but I think this is the big game changer. And apparently, again, from that interview, was one of the things they were messing around with was writing and mounts and stuff like that. And one of the things they were experimenting with, and this is where they landed, obviously. But I think it's a big game changer. You can jump now. Ochi's pretty great. I'm pretty into Ochi. At first, I wasn't sure when the trailers came out. It's like it felt like is that Pikmin? But I think it integrates well. And only maybe problem is Ochi's maybe overpowered a little bit.
Too good. Makes it a little bit too easy.
Yeah. And
it's definitely one of the easier Pikmin games so far.
Yeah. I think the game overall, again, is trying to make it more appealing to everyone, right? So it is probably easy. I'm hoping, again, there will be post-game stuff that's challenging and or, replay with either self-imposed things like we were talking about or difficulty modes. But yeah.
Sure.
Ochi definitely can make things feel easy, but at least in some areas you can't take Ochi, and that's nice. And I think
like the bar areas too, where like Pikmin can go through, but Ochi can't.
Or you can't climb the walls, or
right.
And but Ochi's charge attack is so great. Like that's where they like it kind of breaks the game a little bit. Like walls that you used to have to kind of like throw Pikmin at and then go do other things at, not just charge them and they're down. Or like enemies, you charge them and they're down, like smaller enemies, even bigger ones. If you have a ton of Pikmin on you, just charge them and then that lands all the Pikmin on them, and it's usually pretty quick then. So yeah,
I like how you can use Ochi in different ways too during like boss battles. Like there's some battles I've been in where it's like, in order to avoid the enemy attack, it's better to be riding Ochi because all your Pikmin aren't like vulnerable,
scattered.
Yeah. Because it's cute how they're all jump on the dog, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, but that it's also helpful because it's like a single point instead of like a million everywhere that might get smashed by an enemy. So you like ride him, get all the Pikmin on with you, run around, avoid the attacks, then jump off, sick the dog on him with all the Pikmin, and excuse me. And so it's like that kind of gives a little bit of a different feel other than just like, oh, I'm just always riding the dog or I'm always off the dog. Like having to kind of go back and forth makes it a little bit more engaging.
Totally.
Speaking of Pikmin riding Ochi, when I first realized that the Pikmin start like singing a little song after you've been riding for a little while, I was like, turn this up. I'm never throwing you guys off. This is so adorable. And I saw on Twitter, a user had said, had pointed out that like the bread bugs sing like a version of their own theme song from Pikmin 2. And I guess that's happened that like if you pay attention to the little sounds that a lot of the monsters are making, it's throwbacks to other games.
There's a lot of references
in the franchise. That's so cool.
There's a treasure that's like a music box that plays an old Pikmin song.
Really? Cool.
That's cool.
When you're carrying it back, and just little things that some of the characters say are references to old games too. Like do you
have an example?
I think the best, easiest one is on the logs. Like when you meet yellow Pikmin for the first time, when you meet the Pikmin, they read like Olimar's logs. And Olimar says something about yellow Pikmin. He's like, I think yellow Pikmin's a much better name than ear Pikmin. And in Pikmin 2, the ship, which is a character, says, I don't know why you called them yellow Pikmin. They should be called eared Pikmin.
Right.
Did you replay 1 and 2?
Yeah, I just
because they just did they just brought them to.
Yeah, so I had only ever played a little bit of 2 and never played 1 until recently. Now that they're on the Switch, and I just played them, so they're very fresh in memory.
I need to do that because it's been a really long time.
Yeah,
was it worth it? Was it worth the replay?
Again, I never played 1, so it was worth it for me. I don't know. It's not like a replay for me, but so it's hard to answer that question. But
I mean, like, it feels like 4 is a really good game to jump in on for your first Pikmin game, right? Like, do you think it's going to feel like a really big step back to go and play Pikmin 1 and 2, like after having played 4?
Yeah, it will.
Yeah.
I mean, Pikmin, incrementally, the like AI of Pikmin is so much better.
Right.
Like, and which I think is a really
especially
interesting
now that
thing.
it's naming all these treasures, you know.
Well, that's just, which is another thing. A lot of the treasures have the same names from previous Pikmins. Some of the caves are the same as 2, and I say the same, but like they aren't exactly the same, but they are the same layout and stuff like that. And then, I mean, even Pikmin 1 and 2 had that. You went to the same areas in Pikmin 2 that you went to in 1, though they were a little bit modified. But to get back to that one question, it's been really interesting playing them because, man, playing Pikmin 1 is a little frustrating because you take a corner and half of your Pikmin get stuck. Or you like go by water and half of them fall in, and even though you didn't go through the water. And so you have to be really careful when you're like, you take all the corners like at a huge, with a wide berth, like a truck turning or something. So they don't do that. And then Pikmin 2 is a little bit better. And then Pikmin 3 is pretty darn good. And then Pikmin 4 is like, those Pikmin are not gonna get lost. You know what I mean? And also like when you walk by Pikmin that are idle, in 1 you like have to bump into them directly, and 2 you get real close, and 3 you gotta get pretty close, and then this one I feel like I'm 10 feet away,
attention.
and they're like,
they're like, oh, is that our guy over there?
Yeah. So, but which is an improvement. So it is a little tricky to go back and play them, but I also kind of think there's some challenge in 1 and 2 and 3 to an extent, but 1 and 2 that's missing in 3 and 4. You know what I mean? That's kind of fun. Honestly, I think 2 is pretty darn hard.
Oh yeah.
At least 100%ing it, not necessarily beating it, but like some of those caves are brutal. In 2
and long.
Yes, and I think it's the right move that in 4 they've made it where you can, restart, rewind. I think it's good. But, and then also like you can, when you're going into a cave, you can go to any sub level you've been to, right? Like, so like you can leave a cave and come back in.
Oh, yeah.
In Pikmin 2, if you leave a cave, you lost all your progress and all the Pikmin that died are still dead.
Oh,
and there's some really tricky caves. You go in with 100 Pikmin, and there were times where I get to the final boss and have like 3, you know what I mean? And be like, well, I'm going to sit here and slowly chip away at this person because I don't want to restart the whole dang cave.
But it's nice to have that option, I think. You know, it's just like Fire Emblem or something where it's like you can play in the hardcore mode. You can make
it hard on yourself.
Or just have the restriction that you put on yourself or whatever in order to make it more challenging. Like I know for me, like it's kind of like, NSO games with the rewind feature now. It's like, I like it because, I want to try stuff out, but I don't necessarily want to like have a big enough amount of Pikmin to have a buffer to where if I lose them, it's not a big deal. It's like, it's nice to kind of like try strats and be like, okay, that's not really how I'm supposed to do this. Let me just rewind and I'll do this a different way. And I think for that, it just makes me more experimental with my gameplay and it gives me more confidence to try things where before I might have played the game a little bit safer, a little bit more vanilla.
Totally.
You know what I mean? But now I'm like, oh no, I could take a big swing because I can just, rewind and try over again. Yeah.
I think it is 100% the right move. I do think it takes away some, and I think this is where maybe also we could talk about the caves in Pikmin 2 and 4 versus 1 and 3 a little bit.
Sure.
I think it takes away what made 1 and 2, and to an extent 3, interesting and challenging for some people, right? Is what you're saying, David, is like you used to have to kind of play safe and be thoughtful about how many Pikmin you had and spend, time with that. And now you don't necessarily because you can just rewind or you can take a day and just grow Pikmin all day.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that changes something about it, but it's still a fun gameplay loop. So I don't think it really matters. And they usually have those challenging modes where you're trying to get things and that's where you can play that way. But
to be honest, I mean, let's get real. I'm not playing Pikmin for the challenge. I'm playing for like the chaos. I'm playing for just like everything I'm playing for all the little fellas just running around and doing crazy shit. Like, it's like cute. Yeah, it's like a very like comfort kind of game, I think. And it's the Nintendo-fied RTS, right? Like, in the same way that Splatoon like can be stressful and can be hard, it's also like just chill to play Splatoon even when it's stressful. I think like I find Pikmin to be kind of a similar sort of, it just did to RTS what Splatoon did to FPS or online shooter. Right?
I got really obsessed with platinuming everything in Pikmin 3. So I'm kind of on the other end of that extreme. Like, give me make it. What I think is like in Pikmin 1 and 3, you have to manage your days, right?
Yes.
In a way that just doesn't seem to exist in 2 and 4. And it's just it's not right or wrong. It's just different, right? And I too kind of miss that. The day almost feels pointless. Then you know what I mean? If I can go in a cave and time stops.
I'm thinking about where I was and like the time I had for gaming around like when the other ones came out and when I played like, I was in college when I played 1 and 2 because it came to the Wii.
Right.
I had lots of time to like those were definitely harder games, but like Pikmin 4 is good for like 34-year-old Rachel who doesn't have like a lot of patience, who's really tired, who has a bedtime. Like this is good for me now, but and it's different.
It's nice too to be like, oh, I want to play Pikmin for like 5 or 10 minutes and not be like, I have to maximize every single thing in my day and do as much. It's like, I don't feel bad about like going and doing like 1 or 2 things and then just ending my day with a bunch of time left over.
Just doing, I'm just going to play a day. And like, maybe I don't end it early, but I know that day is probably going to take like 20 to 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, let me do this. And then I'll go do something else.
Yeah.
And then come back to it and play another day.
It very bite-sized, which I appreciated, and it feels right for a game that is on the Switch, which is mobile, that you have these like bite-sized days. I really appreciated that because I was just like trying to like power through some of this just for this. So I was like, oh man, I'm like, but I was doing it in like nice little chunks, and every day felt like a nice little complete loop and gave me that like endorphin rush right at the end. And then I usually would like upgrade a little bit and then, okay, I'm going to go like make dinner or something,
Yeah. Today was productive. My fake day within the day was productive.
Totally.
I agree with all of this, but there still is in Pikmin 1 and 3, you had this day to manage. In Pikmin 2, you had these caves to manage. In the caves, you would come in with a certain amount of Pikmin, and that's it. But we're missing both of that in 4, and I think it is better. But I do sometimes I'm kind of like, man, I wouldn't mind if I add a little more challenge to this.
Yeah. Maybe that's what the post game. Yeah,
I think that's what it is. And that's what it was in
really
3.
Good things about the post game.
So I'm excited. I'm ready for that. I kind of wish it was there already. Or like in a mode I could access and start chipping away at.
Also, maybe the game would be a little bit harder if you weren't blasting everything with bombs the whole time with your pebble pitcher ability.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to talk about that I want to talk about with y'all. And I want to talk about the graphics. I want to talk about the UI. I want to talk about so many things. What are y'all feeling?
Well, I mean, there's definitely some like features that we haven't talked about. Like the ice Pikmin are new in this game, right? I do like freezing water and having new abilities based on that. Like,
that took me a long time to figure out because I'm terrified of drowning my Pikmin because I have terrible PTSD from previous games.
How could I throw a Pikmin into the water that's not safe in the water? Yeah, it feels a little weird.
That has never been okay before.
No, but I love that they just sit there. They just sit there and don't move, and then everything freezes, and then they're just like chilling. And then it kind of gives you a reason to like have more ice Pikmin around, because it's like if you want that to stay ice, they need to kind of chill there for a while, So I think that's a cool mechanic.
Ice Pikmin are definitely the star of the show. I mean, in this game, like they brought back every Pikmin type, but some of them they don't get much screen time.
Yeah.
It is interesting how they use the ice Pikmin also too to like gate off areas, because you don't have access to 100 Pikmin right from the get-go. Some of the things require more ice Pikmin than
to freeze,
have. To freeze than you can have, or you can have that many, but that's all of your Pikmin.
Yeah, then you're like, it's just me and Ochi. Yeah.
So you can't do anything once you cross the frozen pond or whatever.
Yeah. So it's nice how they used it just as a way to like kind of gatekeep you out of some areas, just so you have a reason to go back and stuff too.
Have you gotten to nighttime missions yet on the Glow Pikmin yet, Patrick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done about a half a dozen of them, maybe. I think they're great. I think it's a really nice mix up. I think they like everything. They did a pretty cool idea or a pretty cool story integration with why you're doing them and what they accomplish. I won't spoil that. It's not that big of a deal, but you could probably guess at it. But Glow, it's very different. I kind of am excited to do more of it. I kind of hope some of this post-game stuff is like, can I just focus on this or that? Some of these things that are built into the game, I wouldn't, it's tower defense like.
Okay.
There's something you're trying to protect and there's enemies coming and you're using Glow Pikmin and Ochi to defeat them. And stuff like that. And the first few are pretty easy, but I think as it gets going, it gets a little more interesting and you have more objectives and things and stuff like that. It's a nice gameplay mix up and you can choose to do them sort of, if that makes sense, like when to do them when you're ready. You know what I mean? It's not like once you start hitting them, you have to do them. It's kind of like, I don't want to do this Dandori cave right now. I will save that for when I'm feeling like it's kind of like that.
Yep.
So
that kind of feels like the name of the game for a lot of Pikmin 4.
Yeah.
It's kind of do it at your own pace whenever you want to.
Yeah. Like I'm glad it's a mode. I'm glad it's not like what they 100% leaned into, you know what I mean? Because it's a nice mix up, but it's not going to make its own game without a lot of changes, if that makes sense. And I think there's interesting lore implications for the Glow Pikmin too, which I kind of am excited about doing a Pikmin 4 spoiler episode in the future at some point.
Wow, very good.
To like talk about some of this story stuff, but yeah.
You have some stuff about the graphics. I mean, the graphics are gorgeous in this,
So
right?
pretty.
I mean, this is an Unreal Engine 4 game, I think, right? I'm pretty sure they've made this in Unreal, and it shows. I mean, it's like, some of the stuff in this is like photorealistic, and I think like the clash at first, I thought the clash of the more simplistic character designs versus the like photorealism of the world was a little off-putting. But then it's like you start to notice like all these little touches, like the shadow mapping is like really pretty in this, and the way that, and then whenever the cartoony Pikmin run under shadows cast from stuff in the world, and the way that the lighting looks on them, it really integrates them more into the world in a way that's like really satisfying to look at. You have here written the run animation. Are you a fan of the run animation?
I am a big fan of these characters. The way they run, just flailing their arms about.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Hilarious. Especially when they climb up a wall like that.
Yeah. Ochi, cute or ugly? What do we think?
Both.
So cute.
That's what Pikmin does so well, though, is these sort of cute, grotesque things.
Alien,
Yeah, and that sort of contrast between like, oh, cute little Pikmin, and then like big insectoid things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the eyes. It's Ochi's eyes. That's what I've decided.
Yeah, the eyes freak me out. I don't like them.
They're so good. It's like googly eyes, like that you just stick on anything. You just stuck them on a dog.
Yeah. I've come around to the 2 legs, but the eyes still freak me out. Yeah.
He doesn't have a visible nose.
Right.
I think that was the thing that bugged me initially. But he's got to have one because he sniffs stuff out for you. So
that's true. He also doesn't need a
Somewhere.
helmet, though. Which just makes me think that's why he doesn't have a nose.
Doesn't breathe. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't breathe. He senses things.
The lore gets deeper.
It does, actually. What y'all just hinted at, I think, has an implication in the game.
Yeah, well, all the leafy guys and everything like that, and like kind of what's going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, what have you done any Dandori battles with Magnus?
Yeah, so like I said, my kid's arm's broken, and so when the game came out, I was like, I'm not sure. We weren't sure if he could play. So I was like, well, maybe we'll save the story till you can actually play. So I played like 100 freaking Dandori battles on Friday when the game came out. And then eventually he kind of got the confidence to try some, you know what I mean? And like so I have played a ton of Dandori battles.
Like from the main menu, just like doing
from the main menu.
Yeah,
I mean, also in the game, but from the main menu. So I have a lot of thoughts about that because we spent a lot of time playing that mode in Pikmin 3 and a little bit playing it in Pikmin 2. Which I also thought was really funny. There's a review. One of the more negative Pikmin 4 reviews I read was like, how could there be multiplayer versus in a Pikmin game? And I'm like, there has been in almost all of them. So but I think it's like a mode that most people skipped, but is now forced upon you, right? It's like Pikmin 2. Pikmin 3's battle mode had bigger maps, where you're kind of focused on your own objectives more. But Pikmin 2 and 4 have smaller maps where you're kind of bumping into each other a lot more, and it's a lot more fighty and chaotic,
stealing shit from each other and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And my son just loves to F with me, and I'm always like, oh, I'm winning. Quit trying to mess with me and start bringing stuff to your base. But yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I wish there was more variety because there's only 6 or so of them. I think that's not an absurd amount. I think 2 had about that many. 3 had a few more. But I kind of want a bigger map on some of them, but that's fine. It's good. I really like the Dandori challenges though. I think that's where I'm a big fan, and that's where you get that sort of stuff. I kind of feel like it's missing in the game's too easy because platinuming these is hard. And I really enjoy those and trying to like figure out the optimal strategy and stuff.
I have done one Dandori challenge so far, and I platinumed it, but it was like also only with like 20 seconds left. And I'm like,
right.
And this is difficulty 1. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like when it gets difficulty like full on, like how hard that's going to be just to platinum it.
You definitely can't do it the first time. Or I mean, maybe some amazing gamer out there can, but like it's like getting used to it and figuring it out, right? And that's fun for me. I don't know. Any other thoughts? I mean, we've been talking about it for a while. We should move on at some point here.
A couple like kind of random thoughts here. Like the building bridges and like going back and grabbing the raw materials and whatever. It's just funny to like put them on the bridge. And then they just look at the bridge and like, oh yeah. And then they run back and then you see them come back. They're like a line of ants all carrying stuff. I really enjoy that. I did want to maybe talk, if you guys are interested, just at the time between games has gotten very long. You know, like Pikmin 1 came out and then it was like 2 years later, Pikmin 2 came out. And then it was like a 9-year wait for Pikmin 3. And now it's been like a 10-year wait pretty much for Pikmin 4. Do you think that, I mean, there's no way they were developing this game for 10 years. You know, they said, Miyamoto said a long time ago that Pikmin 4 was like almost done, you know, and maybe he was referring to Hey Pikmin at that time because it was before that game had even come out.
Apparently not, according to some interviews with him. Like because there were people that specifically asked him that. I remember like reading up on this timeline, and apparently he was like, "No, I'm talking about Pikmin 4."
Which
is weird.
It's interesting. Like, I don't know what the Pikmin team like also works on, like which like R&D team actually
they're in number games. 4 or 10. It's what at least some of the people in that interview are from 4 and 10.
Got you. You know, so I think it's, you know, I'm curious like what happened in development that caused such a delay. You know, especially knowing that Nintendo like sits on games for a long time. Maybe this game was just sitting there for a long time, right? Who knows? But I imagine maybe it's something to do with Unreal Engine 4. Maybe they started in a different, engine and then moved over engines like during development. But yeah, it's just interesting to me that it took so long.
There's some Metroid Dread energy around that, right? Like this Pikmin 4 being rumored and talked about a long time ago and then just nothing. And then now here it is, which makes you wonder if they wanted to do things they couldn't do, or they had ideas that they were pursuing and then abandoned. But they didn't really answer that question in the interview. I wish they had, because it's like, yeah, this has been talked about for a long time. What took so long? I don't know.
Curious.
Hopefully we don't have to wait that long for Pikmin 5.
Yeah. I mean, you're down for more Pikmin, I guess, after having played most of this game. Yeah.
I think it's great. I think this game is so good. Like, it just feels and looks good. Despite my complaints about it being a little on the easy side, I think it just feels like an improvement in every way. And I love the verticality of it now. We didn't really talk about that too much. With Ochi being able to jump, and like, I think that's made it a lot more interesting. I kind of wish you could jump and throw Pikmin.
Me too, dude.
Yeah.
It would feel really nice if
like midair chuck them. Yeah. Multiple times I tried to do that.
Because, you have to, yellow are the only ones that can reach certain things. I kind of wish you could jump and throw red, and that would work. And then some things were even a little higher and you had to jump and throw yellow, but whatever. It just feels like the jumping is like one of those things that's like new, but feels like a missed opportunity in some places. Because like my son has spent a long time wandering around the map being like, I feel like I should be able to jump over this. And I'm like, it does look a little weird that you're like going into a quasi.
You can't quite make it. Yeah. So, that at least with the rush feature, you can. It took me a minute because you would like jump, and maybe there was an item, and while you were mid jump, it would like prompt you to throw a Pikmin. So I'm like, can we jump in? So we all tried it, obviously. And then it's like, oh no, it's sitting on the edge because you need to rush it and knock it off.
I think I know exactly the cave you're talking about. Yeah. I tried way too long to figure that one out.
I'm like, I brought the wrong Pikmin or something.
Right.
I need to
there are many
let me start over.
Many times where I'm like, oh, I need to get yellow Pikmin, and then realize, oh no, I just need to bump into the wall. Because that's a new mechanic, and I'm used to throwing yellow Pikmin to get high things. Yep. Yeah. I don't know anything else. I mean, the one thing I just want to say is if this spurs you and you're curious, there's a demo. So go check out the demo. It's pretty robust first area demo.
Does it move over?
It moves over if you want it to. And you get a little bonus for playing it too. It's like some items or something. So
shit.
Yeah. Not that you need them.
Demo.
Yeah. Not that you need them. You don't need the items. The game is easy enough. I think the items are there for kids or people who find it more difficult in its current state, which is nice. Another thing that I think it's more accessible than any other Pikmin game. So, yeah,
I'll definitely say, I mean, just to wrap it up, it's like, if you've like never played a Pikmin game, like I'd say give this one a shot. Like it's seems like it's pretty full featured. It's got a lot of content. And like, this seems like a good use of like a voucher or something like that, right? Like if you got Tears of the Kingdom and you're still got a game left over for your voucher, like you'll definitely get a lot out of this. And like, even if like the RTS genre or whatever is like not that exciting to you, it's like, it's a very active game. There's a lot you can do during it. There's platforming, there's all this different kind of stuff. Like that's a part of this game. As somebody who's enjoys the Pikmin games, but I've never been a huge Pikmin head, it's like I'm really enjoying this one right now, and I'm probably going to play this one through. Yeah, I feel like too, like if you're not even a fan of the RTS genre, this is a nice mix up because typically in RTS you're not also controlling a character, so it's like nice to be able to control a character and then also kind of like command your forces at the same time. Feels really good. Having not played a Pikmin game since Pikmin 1, I'm really enjoying it more than I thought I was going to. I wasn't like down on this game at all by any means, but I was just like, I could take it or leave it. And now having played it about 4 or 5 hours, I'm like, oh, I'm probably going to 100% this game because it is easy enough to 100% and it's really satisfying. This game feels really satisfying to play. It does. All the quality of life improvements, like Ochi, all the hidden quality of life and upgrades to the game that are within just the dog itself are great. And, yeah, man, definitely. I'm curious to see how many people used a voucher to get this game, though we will never get that. Yeah.
I
feel like
that's
one of them.
I feel like the sales numbers are going to be really high, but I would like love to know how much of that is vouchers. But I mean, as long as it sells, who cares? Definitely, hopefully they take a little bit less time to Pikmin 5.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time not wanting to say more. It's just got that Nintendo polish. It really has. Yeah. The sound effects are really good. And like we were talking about them singing and stuff, like there's a lot of little sound effects that feel really great. Anyway.
Yeah, lots of like little Nintendo references and everything too, like with their past GBA console histories. Yeah, great stuff.
Well, we'll call it there. I'm pushing for us to do another Pikmin 4 episode at some point in a couple months when everybody is either moved on or beaten it. But where we'll dig into the lore and stuff. But we'll call it there. We're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the other games that we've been playing recently. I guess it was within the last week that I rolled credits on Pikmin 2 on the Switch, which I was hoping to do before Pikmin 4 came out, and that happened. There is post-credits parts of Pikmin 2, and we played some of that, but it gets pretty hard. I think Pikmin 2 is maybe the hardest Pikmin game.
For sure.
In some ways, at least. To like do everything. But I really enjoyed my time with it nonetheless. And it also made me appreciate all the quality of life stuff in Pikmin 4. And then other than that, I think mostly just played Splatoon and Salmon Run here and there. I'm still obsessed with that. I still play at least a few a day. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything specific to talk about there. So that's me. A lot of Pikmin 4 though.
Yeah, I've been mostly playing Pikmin 4. I've been doing some other stuff too though. A little bit more Picross. I've been doing more of the depths in Tears of the Kingdom, just kind of randomly. Tears of the Kingdom is kind of like turned in the post game. Now that I've beaten it, has kind of turned into I have something on the TV and I turn the sound off on the Switch and I'm just kind of exploring the depths and finding stuff. And you know what I mean? Which is a cool way to play it because there's so much little stuff in that game. So it's like not being 100% locked into like the immersion in the post game is like a completely acceptable way to play that game for me right now. And I'm kind of enjoying it in that aspect. Some Tetris 99. I played Astro Bears with some people the other day. You guys remember that game? It's like kind of like it's basically like a sphere that you're on and it's like Tron. Well, that was like the early days of Switch Headz. We were playing like really cheap, like multiplayer games. Played some of that when some friends came over the other day. Yeah, that was fun. I've been sticking with fitness boxing too. I've been doing it every day and it's a lot of fun. It is hard. And you can make it as hard as you want. I did kind of make the mistake of downloading the No Mercy DLC pack because I saw there was like free DLC on the store. And it just makes the trainers like really mean to you. And they're like, come on, fucking idiot. You can do this, you fucking pussy. It's like, dude, all right, chill. I'm sorry. Like I've got a praise thing. I prefer to be praised instead of put down. So I'm like, and now I don't know how to turn it off. And I'm like, they're just really mean to me all the time.
Now you permanently have mean people.
Yeah, exactly. And so now whenever I do the hard mode, it's maybe like it'll go into No Mercy mode. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'll just learn.
Delete the game and then re-download it. Maybe.
Well, no, it's fine. It's like now, like whenever I'm playing and they're like, come on, step it up. I'm always just like, fuck you, and I'm like punching and shit. So it kind of helps like get my energy up and like so it's kind of working. But yeah, I mean that game is like I'm trying to do that like at least once a day just to get some movement in. I'm definitely like burning some calories, and it really work up a sweat playing that game. It's a ton of fun, and yeah, it's like a good workout. And then lastly, a game I want to talk about is not on the Switch. Currently, this game is only on PlayStation and Steam, but I've been playing Viewfinder, which has been in a bunch of stuff recently. I think it was in the Wholesome Direct. This game, like, Patrick, if you can, try to pull up a video of this because it's like really visually mind-breaking. It like really breaks your brain. Basically, the kind of way that this game works is that you're in like kind of a 3D space, and then you find like 2D little photos, or you can use like a Polaroid camera to take photos of the environment. And then you hold those photos up, press a button, and then those photos become 3D space that you can then explore. So it's kind of like a Portal style game, but in Portal, you're like kind of using the portals to get to other parts of the map. In this, you're like creating new parts of the map to like, get to the next stage through or whatever, right? So it's a really cool game. I'm really enjoying it. Like I love first person puzzle games. So this is like really working for me in that aspect. I think there's some things about it that aren't quite as, especially coming from a game like Pikmin 4 that's like super fucking polished and has that Nintendo sheen. Like this feels a little rougher than I was anticipating in a lot of ways because the graphics look so clean and the concept is so like taut. But it kind of feels like it was maybe rushed a little bit at the finish line, and like it feels like this kind of like slapped on like narration that like feels kind of cheap and a little cringy, and like it's like I don't really need all this like spoken dialogue in a puzzle game like this. I think they probably do a lot more showing than telling on a lot of the stuff that's happening there. But overall, I definitely recommend Viewfinder. I think the thing you could probably compare it most to is like Superliminal, which was also an awesome game, kind of fucks with perspective and size and stuff like that in a similar way. That game I played on Game Pass, and that kind of felt like a perfect Game Pass game. I dropped the $25 or whatever for this game. Been playing on my Steam Deck, and I think like eventually this is probably going to come to Game Pass or something like that. So maybe don't get it at full price, but I'm really enjoying it. It's really unique, and whenever you're playing a game and you're like, I have literally no idea how this is actually working technically, that's a pretty special experience. So regardless of my qualms with the game, I think Viewfinder is pretty awesome and definitely worth checking out.
Is it giving like Harrison Ford Blade Runner voiceover vibes, or?
No, it's a little like, I can't believe I just did that. It's like that. Did I just move that with my freaking mind? It's kind of like a bit of that from Forspoken. It's like,
got it. Okay, yeah, I needed that context. I was like, what? What's not working about it? Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, it just feels a little cheap. Yeah.
Okay. Because that game did look really good. This trailer looked really interesting. But okay, real quick, Apex Legends. I've been trying to work through the battle pass. I'm at level 80. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't really care at this point. Whatever. Who cares? Next, Tears of the Kingdom on the plane, just to duplicate items, because I knew I would have to finally close my Tears of the Kingdom.
Update that game at some point.
I duplicated what I thought I might need. And I'm just going to have to live with what I got. And then, Pikmin 4. That's it. Really nothing crazy. I haven't had a ton of time this week to game, and I mostly spent it playing Pikmin 4. So
nice.
Tears of the Kingdom, really slow player when it comes to this game and Breath of the Wild. But Pikmin 4, and then I started playing Stardew Valley. So I gave my mother my Switch Lite a couple years ago when I got my OLED. And that's been like an Animal Crossing machine for her, and we both kind of I got her Stardew Valley for Mother's Day, and then got it for myself, and we've been chipping away at that and figuring it out together. But I don't recommend Stardew Valley on a Switch Lite if you're over 60, because the print is so small. So
and the cursor with the right stick can be probably hard for people that aren't hardcore gamers too.
That's getting a big update soon, right? Aren't they still updating that game?
They're adding like a festival and some other stuff. Real Crazy. Soon if it didn't just happen or something.
It's like that and Dead Cells are just the games that will not die. They're just going to live forever. Yeah, crazy stuff.
Well, awesome. Then that's going to do it for this episode on Pikmin 4. Rachel, thanks so much for coming on and being our Pikmin guest again.
Thank you. Sign me up for the spoiler episode.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, let's do that in a couple months. And then also some thanks to MilkyWay.co for doing our website, and to Corduroy for doing our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, you can find me most places as PDYX.
I'm pretty much ever on the internet at Monolith Fiji.
You can find me in the Discord or on Instagram at Bordan.
Awesome. And then what about you, Rachel? Where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter and or X as Rachel Kane. Or I'm on Instagram and I guess Threads too, Rachel Louise 13. Find me there.
There you go. There's so many platforms in this dystopic social media hellscape we currently find ourselves in, right? Rachel's on all of them, so follow Rachel there. And then if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. We got a website, switchheads.com. And then we've got our Discord and Facebook group. We'll have links to both of those in the description of this episode. Please join our Discord. It's such an awesome community. Everybody there is so chill. And it's, I feel like everybody's been making friends. I love seeing on Twitter, Rachel, you responding or replying to people that just through the Discord. I feel like we've all made new friends with each other, in crossed different pathways that I would have never expected, because we've known each other for forever, Rachel. But it's so nice to see kind of the community sort of run on autopilot, right? Yeah, I love it. But yeah, so join us over there on Discord. We'd love to have you. That's going to do it for this episode on Pikmin 4. Fun episode, fun game. Definitely check it out. We're going to be back next week with an all brand new episode. Not going to tell you what it is because I'm not sure we know yet, but we'll figure it out. And next week's going to be awesome. It's guaranteed. Every episode's good, right? Right? Anyway, other than that, gang, that's going to do it for this episode. We love you guys very much. You know the drill. Stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Play the Pikmin franchise. Play Hey Pikmin if you are a glutton for punishment. I don't know. Patrick seems to like it.
It's all right.
But other than that, we love you guys very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.